The Locker Room, with all the sports news you need, live.
And it's a big warm welcome to the Sunday show here in The Locker Room. Thank you for joining me. It's Regan and I'm joined by Robbie. Thank you for joining me, Robbie.
No problem. How we doing?
Doing good, Robbie. A big weekend of Scottish football. And Celtic have just finished playing, Robbie. We'll also talk about that, but we'll also talk about the two matches that are just about to take place right now. Aberdeen versus your team, St Mirren. And then St Johnstone are going to Rugby Park to play Derek McInnes side. So I'll keep an eye on that match and you keep an eye on the Aberdeen St Mirren match to keep everybody updated.
Yep, sounds good.
Robbie, I just want to first of all ask you about how you're feeling going into the match.
You need to be as confident as you can be. I think after Thursday, with the smash and grab, we should be confident going into this one. I think you can't underestimate how good Aberdeen actually are under Thielen. I thought Monday's performance was very professional from Aberdeen. Went out there and get the job done. So for this match, we just need to be confident, play the way we can. I know Robinson's rotated out a younger Mandron for Scott and Olasanya, so we'll see how that goes. But no, I'm confident ahead of this one.
And also, guys, remember that we are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, so you can send in your questions to myself and Robbie. So, first of all, Robbie, we'll talk about the match that's just finished. David Gray's side 0, Celtic 2. Talking about that match, Robbie, what did you make of the match? Obviously, Celtic got off to a great start, a great run by James Forrest. And then Nicholas put the ball in the back of the net. But there was a superb goal, Robbie, by McGregor. Obviously, we talked about on Friday about McGregor. He's no longer at the Scotland squad because he chose to retire from there. But what did you make of that match overall?
I mean, I thought in the first half Celtic were very, very good. Obviously got after a flying start when Nicholas Kuhn putting the ball in the net after inside 3 minutes, I think it was. Very, very good start. I thought the Hibs they just don't look like they want it. It's again, I think you need to give David Gray a bit more time, let him actually build his team, but it's not looking good so far. I mean, that's the 2 weeks now where Hibs have conceded 5, I think it is now, and not scored a goal. So it's looking worrying for Hibs. Obviously, as we'll speak about a bit later, Kieran Bowie managed to hit a crossbar for Hibs. I think in the second half, they definitely look more promising, a lot more attacking. Obviously, that would have just been probably Celtic getting a bit tired, and Hibs wanting to go and have a wee go, try to get back in the game. So I thought in the second half there was positives that David Gray could take to the game, but in the first half it just looked very comfortable for Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, it was very comfortable. I thought Celtic looked very good, Robbie. It just amazes me how Steve Clark didn't pick James Forrest to play in the Scotland match. Because I thought again today, Robbie, it just shows you what a player James Forrest actually is.
Yeah, I mean, especially at his age as well. I mean, he's in his 30s now, I think, and he's still putting on performances like that. So you can still see he's got the quality there, and as long as he's keeping that up, I mean, it can only be a positive for Celtic and hopefully Scotland in the future as well.
Yeah, and just talking about that goal from Callum McGregor, for me, that's a contender for goal of the season already. 2 matches in.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think David Gray will be disappointed with that. I mean, for how well McGregor done with the strike, he has so much space in that midfield area, which, as a manager, you're looking at that and going, how have my players not been able to shut that down? But listen, that's taking nothing away for the strike because it was fantastic for McGregor, and he's still shown that he's got it in the locker as well. I mean, Steve Clark was at the match, so he'd probably be quite fuming watching that, knowing that that's what's retired for the national team.
Yeah, and who was a standout for you, Celtic-wise, Robbie? Is there somebody that you can say was really good?
I thought actually Nicholas Kuhn, since he scored that goal, I thought he had a lot of good chances. I thought Kyogo was more lively as well today. So I mean, there's a few players that you could pick out. I thought Carter Vickers at the back was very strong again. He looked like himself, so it's very good for Celtic. I mean, again, it was very comfortable performance, and I think they all look good. I'd say maybe Liam Scales was the only one I'd say that's maybe a bit shaky at times. I know he picked up a bit quite early on, but apart from that, I thought the Celtic team looked very comfortable.
Yeah, and obviously the other talking point from Celtic is that still no Adam Reader there, Robbie. Do you think it'll be done? I think Brendan Rodgers made a statement about the 25 minutes to go where he brought in Mikey Johnson. I don't think Mikey Johnson will be anywhere near the Celtic striking options, but I think it just shows you that Brendan Rodgers is sending a message to the Celtic board that he wants strikers in. He said he already wants 2 strikers in, so I think Celtic board need to back Brendan Rodgers.
I think they should. I mean, Mikey Johnson, no offence to him, I just don't think he's at that Celtic level anymore where he should be in the first team. I think Ida should have been done weeks ago. The fact that it's not been done yet is actually quite embarrassing for the Celtic board, I think, to look at. I think Rodgers will be disappointed that's not been done as well. But the thing is, I think Celtic need a few more signings in areas. I think they need a left back and potentially another attacking option as well. So, there's not long to go now in the window, and Celtic still have maybe 2 or 3 more signings they need to make. So, I think if you have Brendan Rodgers, you're maybe getting a bit worried that no business outfield wise has been done yet.
Yeah, I mean, talk to me about David Gray. What do you make of that? Obviously, it was a high-profile appointment because he was the famous guy that scored the most important goal for Hibs in the last kind of 40, 50 years, scoring that goal to make it 3-2 against Rangers. But I just get the feeling that it's not going to work.
Early signs, it looks like it's not going to work. I thought in the first game, Hibs just looked very flat, just playing the sort of long ball route atop to Martin Boyle. So it's not looking the best of starts for Hibs, and it doesn't get much easier because they play Celtic next week in the Cup. So again, that's going to be another tough game. But I think if you're going to give a manager time, it needs to be David Gray. I think Hibs have had 5 managers in 5 years now, which is just incredible to hear. So no, I think they need to give David Gray more time and let him build his team. And if it doesn't work, then it's alarm bells again for Hibs.
Yeah. So Robbie, I've got some breaking news here. St Johnstone have just scored at Rugby Park. It's 1-0 to St Johnstone, Robbie.
That is a shocker. We spoke on Friday about Derek McInnes's team maybe lacking confidence right now. I think that's shown. Craig Levine's gone there and he's managed to find himself a goal up, so that's definitely interesting.
Yeah, it was a great finish at the back post there. A bit of a long throw in the box, and a great finish by St Johnstone. They go 1-0 up. I just want you to bring us up to speed because it was something that you said as we just approached 3 o'clock, and it was Miovski's not playing for Aberdeen at the moment.
Yeah, Miovski's actually on the bench today, which I find interesting considering obviously the rumours that he's potentially moving over to Spain. So that's an interesting one. I don't know if he'll get minutes today. If not, then maybe that's Jimmy Taylor sending out a message that maybe this is his last ever game for Aberdeen, and maybe he will be off to Spain quicker than we think.
Yeah, it's a great move for Miovski. You look at Girona, they're close to Barcelona, and they're obviously part of the City group, and they're in the Champions League now as well. So it's a very important time for them.
Aye, and listen, they're only adding quality to the team. Miovski's a very, very good striker. I'm not sure how he'll go in Spain. I don't think he'll score as many goals as he has at Aberdeen, but there's no doubt that Girona adding quality to the team, and for a big Champions League time for Girona, you need as much squad depth as you can get. So Miovski can only be a positive addition.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about Miovski. What do you think the ballpark kind of figure will be for Aberdeen? What do you think they'll be looking for from?
I think with the way other teams are conducting business in Scotland, obviously Hearts are standing firm with Shankland, wanting about 4 or 5 million for him. Obviously Celtic wanting a big chunk of money for Matt O'Reilly. So I think Aberdeen, they should stand firm. If Aberdeen want more than 1 or 2 million for Miovski, then they should have every right to demand it. And I think if they're not going to get that money, then don't just sell them for whatever you can take, because I think Scottish teams in general need to start being a bit more strict with who they're selling and what they're selling them for, and keep that money and we'll wait for a team that will actually pay that price for a great player.
Yeah, Robbie, I just wanted to ask you, see in terms of the Aberdeen's St Mirren match, how's it started?
It started off very Aberdeen have got after a very, very good start. The Aberdeen striker made a good run in behind early on. Gogic brings him down. Referee waves it on. I don't think it was a penalty, but I don't even think VAR checked it. So no, it's been a good start for Aberdeen. We've sort of struggled to get into the game a bit, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to ask you now in terms of the game at 5:30 yesterday. Obviously, spoke about on Friday that Premier Sports have got a brand new deal, and it's great to see them in Scottish football now. But in terms of the match, I mean, it was a great match to watch. Dundee, they've got off to a great start this season. They drew 2-2 last week against their city rivals, Dundee United, and then yesterday to beat a team the calibre of Hearts, I think was a great statement by Tony Docherty's side.
I think so. I mean, a lot of fans in Scotland in general predicted Dundee to finish probably outside the top six and get a bit of a drop off. But with the way they went about that performance yesterday, I mean, they could be right up there again, challenging for that top five, sort of top six spot. So I think Tony Docherty's got that side set up phenomenally. I mean, I think when the Hearts lineup came out, you seen it on social media, Hearts fans weren't particularly happy that they went back to the back three. I mean, but I think Graham spoke about on Friday about, stick with the same tactics and you'll see results. I mean, they played the four back against Rangers and it seemed to work. So I think going forward, Naismith needs to just stick to that back four, keep the same sort of group of players, and there's no doubt that they'll probably be third again. But it was a really bad start for Hearts, and they can't afford to do that at many away games if they want to be up there competing. So I think I think Hearts may bounce back, but all credit goes to Dundee because it was a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a few of the players that are being attracting attention, and one of them scored yesterday. Do you think they'll manage to keep hold of the players, or do you think someone will potentially be in for them?
I think I mean, again, I think it comes into that strictness. They should be looking to try and keep the players and be a bit more strict on pricing. If they want to sell a player for upwards of £1 million, be firm on it, stand on your ground and say, look, he's not gone for any less than this, so you either bid £1 million or you don't. So I think for Scottish clubs in general, it's key that we do start being a bit more strict and holding on to our players, because it's the only way the game's really going to grow up here. So I think they will hold on to some of the players, but you could lose sort of key players in there as well.
Yeah, obviously we'll talk about the challenge by Gerald Taylor, who was great last week, Robin. But did you think it was a red card?
Initially, when I first saw it live, I thought, yes, that's a definite red. I mean, it was a silly challenge to make. I don't think it had to go in like that. Watching it on the replays, I think maybe because how low his foot is, that's why they've maybe gave the yellow. But listen, I think if the referee get a red card out for that, I don't think anyone would have complained. I mean, it is a very dangerous challenge and you're putting danger on the player as well. I mean, what did you think of it? Did you think it was a red?
Yeah, Robbie, I did. Just because of the Scottish FA's their regulations on it, they call it endangering opponent, and that's what I felt it was. It was endangering an opponent. I felt Gerard Taylor got kind of overawed yesterday. He had a great game on Saturday against Rangers, but I just felt like yesterday I don't think he was great, and I don't know if it'll just take a little bit of time for him to get adapted to Scottish football.
Maybe. I mean, I think if he can play the way he did against Rangers, there's every chance that he'll be a great player. But I don't think the formation switch is going to help him. I mean, you're looking at, if we're playing a back four, you're comfortable in right back, to then moving to the back three where, you're sort of playing as that more attacking player. So it'll be tough on him as well to try and adapt to that. And I think he done it okay up until the challenge. And then, we'll speak about the own goal as well. That was bad. That probably wouldn't have helped his confidence. But I think Naismith just needs to be strict on that back four. And I think Hearts do have the third best team in the country.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to speak about was Xander Clark. I know he's got a lot of praise, he's got a lot of recognition, especially by Graham on this show the past 2 or 3 years, Robbie. But I feel like he was at fault yesterday for that goal as well. I don't know, he just kind of messed up. He messed about too much.
Yeah, I don't know what Xander Clark was thinking, to be honest. I mean, it was a really bad pass. Then, his head was just lost at that point, and you seen it when Tiffany struck the ball. He just went down so easy. I think he thought he could have saved that on another day, but I think when, he gave that ball away, it was going to be in a bit of bother. I mean, I've said it as well as Graham. I mean, I think Xander Clark's an incredible goalkeeper. I really, really like him. I'm a big fan of him. I know people think otherwise. But I mean, I think moments like that, it will put a bit of doubt in Graham's mind and probably Naismith's mind. Should Craig Gordon be coming back into the lineup and playing Milford Hearts after that? I mean, you've got to fancy Gordon maybe starts next week in the cup.
Yeah, and then it's a case of whoever plays well stays in. That's what competition's about, Robbie. But yeah, I just wanted to ask you about Dundee. I think they've been a great success story of Scottish football so far over the past 2 or 3 years.
I think so. I mean, look, it's a very, very good team. They've got some very, very good players like McGowan. I think he's a fantastic player for this league. I mean, they are a bit like us, where they've been building up the league for the past couple of years, and now you're starting to see it pay off. I mean, if you asked me last season or the season before, even if that Dundee team could put three Bath Hearts, I probably would have laughed at you. But they're right up there now with one of the teams competing for top six, and I think it's good to see these type of teams. We always speak about Aberdeen or Hibs being the fourth or fifth best team in the country. I mean, seeing the teams like Kilmarnock and us and Dundee up there competing, it's really good to see for the game, and it only brings more eyes in the game, I suppose. So, it's real positive for the likes of Dundee.
Yeah, it's great, Robbie. And I just want to know, you spoke earlier about the fact that Celtic are looking to speak to other clubs about potentially selling Matt O'Reilly. I read last night about possible fee about 23 million. I did say on the locker room a couple of weeks ago about the fact that I'd be looking at maybe 28 million over add-ons because I think 25 would be great, but I think I think you just need to look at the English Premier League, Robbie, and go to yourself, someone like Solanke. I think he'd one good season with Bournemouth, and now he's away for 65 million to Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, I mean, the pricing of some of the players in the Premier League has been mental. I mean, Alvarez to Atletico Madrid for 80 million is another big one as well. I think if we truly want to compete in leagues, we need to be this firm. And if Matt O'Reilly's playing this well at a Bournemouth, again, Tottenham are probably looking to buy him for about 60, 70 million. So, I mean, I think, we're never really going to get that for the players. I just don't think that's how it works down here. I think if Matt O'Reilly moves, it'll potentially be worth a lot more. I mean, you look at some of the up and coming players like Lamine Yamal. I mean, the prices he's getting valued at now as well is really, really high in today's game. So I think if we want to compete as leagues, we're doing it to be saying, look, we want 20 million for this player or 15 for him, or try and push it up a bit and try and get more for the players because they are quality and they should be worth that. So I think, looking at that Solanke one, it's a really weird one because I don't think he's worth 65 personally. If he was up here scoring that amount of goals that he did at Bournemouth for an Aberdeen or Hearts, you'd probably be flinging at the 10 million barrel for him. So I just think we need to, again, start being a bit more firm on that pricing.
Yeah, definitely, Robbie. Have you got a price in mind that you think Matt O'Reilly is worth? I threw out there about 2 weeks ago saying about 25, but possibly 28 with add-ons. But have you
I
got a
think
price?
that's right.
You got a
I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I think Celtic should probably be asking for upwards of 30. I mean, I don't see why not. I think he's worth every penny of that. And if, clubs are willing to listen to that, then so be it. Let them pay the 30. But I just think anywhere above 20 million's only a positive for Celtic, and it will show that our players are worth this sort of amount of money.
Yeah. I just want to say, Robbie, that we've got a red card at Rugby Park. We've got a red
Oh,
card. Yeah, we've got a red card.
who for?
And it's the Robbie, I'm just going to check at the moment. I think it is a red. Yeah, it is a red card. I'll need to see it back to see who it is. It's someone for the for the home team, but I'm not entirely sure who it is at the moment. I'll tell you in a second or two because they're treating the St Johnson player down in the ground, so it's hard to see exactly who's. It's Kamara number 4. It's been sent off. Yep.
I mean, the day goes from bad to worse for Derek McInnes. I mean, how do you bounce back for 1-0 down and a red card now? I mean, looking ahead to Thursday, they are in a real bit of bother.
Yeah, it's not looking good for them. And St Johnson have started really well. Robbie, that I don't know what it is, but I said on Friday that I just felt like they looked okay against Hearts, against Aberdeen. I know people were saying about that Aberdeen maybe and St Johnson maybe made them look good, but I thought St Johnson did okay. They probably could have nicked a point right at the end as well. So yeah, I think St Johnson will do okay this season.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Hearts boy that they've got on loan was very, very good on Monday, with a little appearance he got. But I think, Craig Levine's got to be looking at that as a positive. He's 1-0 up away at a ground where, you're playing on that plastic pitch and it will be difficult. So I think St Johnstone need to keep that confidence up. And listen, I doubted them this season. I thought they'd potentially go straight down, but if they can keep that up, I mean, they could be in for the season where, they are fighting outside that relegation spot, which would be a massive achievement for them. So I think they just need to keep at it.
Robbie, the player that was sent off was Joe Wright, number 4. Joe Wright was sent off. In case anybody's wondering, but yeah, want to ask you about. Obviously, I think this is a good point to touch on, but you always feel like the teams that are playing in European football really don't tend to do well the following couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, I think you just need to look at Kilmarnock right now. I mean, they are now losing a man down. I think Derek McInnes is the confidence levels seem to have really, really dropped in that Kilmarnock team, and I'm not so sure why. I mean, they look really great. So I think for us teams in Europe, I feel like your Hearts and Rangers can compete because they've got that squad depth. But for the likes of us, I mean, we have brought in 3 players from the bench from Thursday, so I think it's always tough to rotate and do well when you don't have that squad depth and for the likes of us in Kilmarnock in Europe. So I think there's always going to be that sort of European hangover, if you want to call it that, and struggling in the performances after the games and stuff.
Yeah, and the next match we're going to go on to, Robbie, is to talk about the Rangers Motherwell match. First of all, Robbie, I just want to ask you about the ticket pricing. This is something I mentioned 2 Fridays ago, where I said that I just feel like Scottish football is becoming too expensive for the average going fan. I looked at the match against Rangers and Motherwell. I think it was £33 for an adult and £20 for a concession. I just feel like, I'm not being funny, but how can 2 adults and 2 children go to the match? You're talking nearly 60, £70.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting ridiculously expensive at this point. I think Stephen, who comes on the show quite often, is a big advocate of, 20's plenty, that sort of thing. I think if you're paying nearly £50 for 2 people to go to a football match, you need to be having a look and going, right, what's going on here then? Because it is ridiculously expensive, and season ticket prices are only increasing more every season. So I think for your average match going fan, it's only getting harder per season. Pay for season tickets and tickets. I mean, if you look at the likes of Hearts, I mean, Hearts will bring out 2 or 3 kits a season. Then you've got your season ticket. You've got your European matches, which they're guaranteed to play until Christmas. Then you've got the cup matches that factor into that as well. I mean, that is a lot of money for an average fan to try and fork out for every game.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a disgrace, to be honest. Just because of the state, I think you often. I'm not putting down the game here, but you often, if you go to some of the matches like a Ross County match or something like that, you often see a lot of not spaces being took up. So I think it's important that we let as many fans enjoy Scottish football as possible.
I think so, and I mean, we touch on the sort of new TV deal with Premier Sports. That's another chance to get eyes on the game. But again, you're paying for your Sky Sports, your Premier Sports, any club that's going to have pay-per-view for any of the matches. So it is becoming so expensive now, and it's tough for that fan. If it is a Ross County, St Johnstone, even down the leagues, it's harder for some of the lower league teams to try and get pay-per-view for matches. So it's only becoming more and more expensive, as you said, and I think it is a disgrace, and I think we're doing it to try and get it sorted out and, have a better bundle and try and look in the game. I was always a big fan of that, SPFL sort of bundle that you can buy. And if you pay one subscription for a year, you can watch whatever game you want. Just have all the options on the TV, have like Aston on TV, Aberdeen, Celtic. You can just pick what game you want to watch on a Saturday. I mean, I think that would work out so much better, and I think you definitely got a lot of people buying it.
I think that's spot on, Rob, because you look at yesterday, right? I'm not wanting to look down the nose of the championship down south, but they've got a thing called iFollow, I think it is, and Sky Plus, which now lets any championship fan watch any match they want. So all of the matches, but yesterday in the championship were on at 12:30. But if you pay for Sky Plus, you're able to choose what match that you want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually watching some of the matches on that Sky Plus yesterday. I think I was watching Blackburn Rovers versus Derby. That is a very good thing, and I think if we could get something like that up here, again, it brings more eyes on the game. It's better for the average fan to, fork out maybe a one-time subscription and you get that for the full year, or even a monthly subscription at that. You pay a fee every month, and for that month you can watch whatever game you want when it's on. So I think something like that would definitely benefit the game. But with the new Premier Sports deal coming in and stuff, I don't think I could see that for a good couple of years now.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame, Robin, because we want to see as much revenue into Scottish football as possible. I mean, nobody's saying it's the greatest, but what we're saying is there's a lot of good players involved in Scottish football.
I definitely. I mean, if we can get an average guy's eyes, a person for down England, maybe one Saturday, we've got that subscription. Say Aberdeen's playing, and you can get a look at your likes of Jamie McGrath and Miovski or Duke. Any of them. Obviously, they two are maybe not going to be at the top for long, but my point. If we can get more eyes on these type of players, people start recognising the quality that Scottish football has, and it's just a shame, as I said, that we do have them two TV deals now with Sky and Premier Sports, which means that's probably not going to happen for at least a couple of years anyway, which it's a real shame for the game.
Yeah, Robbie, I just wanted to bring you up to date on this match at Rugby Park. St Johnson are really dominating the match, really dominating the ball and stuff like that. So I'll um, I'll let you know what's happening here. But yeah, I mean, in terms of Scottish football overall, Robbie, we're going to go move on to the Rangers match right now, and Rangers against Motherwell. I want you to talk to me about what you thought about it.
So I did manage to catch the highlights, and I think even when the team sheet got announced, I think Motherwell had a fullback playing in midfield. So I was a bit like, is this damage limitation from Kettlewell? Go and set your team up defensively and try and keep it as low as possible. But I think when the teams came out, you saw the game kicked off. I really don't think Rangers looked that good, and I just think over the course of the match, if Motherwell had a fully fit team ready to go, I think they probably could have got something for the game. But as I said, Rangers just showed that bit more quality and managed to get the result in the end. But Motherwell really did show promise in that game, and I think it's something that Kettlewell can look back on and get some positives from. They had the chance in that last minute, keeper saved. Obviously the goal, a bit of luck that gets you right back in the game. But there's definitely a lot of positives there for a Motherwell fan. Looking ahead to a big match for Rangers on Tuesday. I know they get the win, but again, that's another performance where, and another day, they probably should put 4 or 5 past Motherwell during the game.
Yeah, I didn't think Rangers were great yesterday. I watched the match. I was there, but yeah, I just felt like in terms of that, Robbie, what do you think the Rangers fans are feeling at the moment? Because I hear them, a lot of them, and they speak about the transfer activity, they speak about the stadium. But what is your feeling? What do you get the feeling that the supporters are willing to focus on the park, or do you think they're still they still know that they need players and they need to get back at Ibrox at the very, very soon, Robbie?
I mean, I think there's a lot of factors for a Rangers fan. I mean, some of my family's big time Rangers fans, and I speak to them, and there's real confusion at the club right now. I mean, some are looking at at Hampden going, we need to try and get back to Ibrox. Some are looking at the manager who's just signed a new contract. Is that just the Rangers board trying to make Rangers fans feel good about the new season? I don't know, but and then some are looking at the signings and going, well, we're bringing in these guys that, yes, they're under 22 and they could be good in 4 or 5 years, but Rangers fans want to look at the now and they need to realise that if things don't change very, very quickly, they're in for another season of bother with Celtic because, as we've said in the last 2 games, Celtic have looked very, very good. So I think for Rangers fans, it's a lot of things, and I just think this Tuesday the match is so crucial against Kiev that they need to get that win. And with the way they played against Motherwell, I'd fancy Kiev more than I would Rangers. I mean, at Ibrox, as we've spoke about multiple times, you're well enclosed. The fans feel like they're right on top of you, but we're at Hampden, and I think you noticed during the game that the crowd really went too loud, and I think the players would have heard that on the pitch. I would have felt a bit stale at times. So I do think that there's a lot of confusion. I think confusion is a good word to describe a Rangers fan right now.
Yeah, I mean, thank you to Jordan for his comment. He's saying our squad is not great right now. I mean, I just want to speak to you about that. I mean, the big thing for me watching Rangers, and also I've got friends that are Rangers supporters and stuff like that, Robbie, but I want to speak to you about, obviously, Scott Wright. Scott Wright, he wasn't somebody that was in the manager's plans and was in the supporters' plans, but now he seems to be someone that's now in the team no matter what. And he was somebody that was on a flight to the Turkish Premier League last season, and then the Rangers pulled out the negotiation, and now it just seems like he's an automatic pick for the manager.
Scott Wright's a weird one to me because you have players there, as we spoke about on Friday, like Yanis Hadji, who is putting on his Instagram story that he's ready to play with Rangers and this and that, and he's not getting a game over Scott Wright. I mean, Scott Wright, absolutely no offence to him, I just don't think he's good enough to play for Rangers. I think we're what Rangers have right now, but I think he'll need to make use of that, Clement. But I think that's far from the level of player that Rangers want, and Scott Wright managed to get that move to Rangers. All credit to him. I think he's definitely delivered some good moments more at Hampden. But he's also delivered a lot of bad moments, a lot of bad performances. And if Rangers fans really want to be going forward, you need to look at Kearney, who's came in and has made a real impact to Rangers already. So I just think in the Scott Wright situation, I think he should have been gone for Rangers a long time ago. And the fact that he hasn't is only worse for Rangers than it is for Scott Wright.
Yeah, Robbie, I want to ask you about this comment. He talks about Barron and Cherney. See, in terms of Barron, I think he's somebody that could potentially be in the Scotland squad very soon. But as well, it's a lot of pressure for someone at 2021 to come into a Rangers squad. You know, this was a guy that was playing lower league football, playing at Brecon, then he went to Aberdeen. You know, it just seems like it's a big jump for somebody to be a Rangers first team player. Like you said, Rangers won the match, but a lot of the supporters inside that stadium yesterday were booing at full time.
Yeah, I mean, like Conor Barron, I really like him. I think he could be a great player for Rangers. He's got a lot of creative ability in him. I think you've seen that against Hearts. I mean, he was one of the only players that I'd say looked a bit of a standout for me. I think going forward, you know, Clement will need to be careful with Barron that he doesn't fling him in too deep because we've seen it multiple times. I mean, you take Scott Wright, for example, he came in with a lot of promise to Rangers and you know, I'm not exactly saying he's been the worst player Rangers have ever had, but he's certainly not been the best. And I think if you rush Conor Barron like that, I think it could be real danger that he turns out to be like a Scott Wright, just sort of falls off a bit. But he's got all the potential in the world, and I think so far he's shown it. And you know, the likes of what Jordan said about him and Kearney, they two look very, very good for Rangers, and you know that's two of their new signings. So I think that tells you all you need to know, really.
Yeah, and I think that's a valid point as well. That I just find it strange, but by the way, oh, St Johnstone have just scored again. It's 2-0 at Rugby Park. It's Kamala
Oh,
St Johnstone too.
massive.
St Johnstone are playing really well here, Robbie. St Johnstone are playing really well.
Full credit to Dave Levine. I mean, that must be really well set up. I mean, what did Kelly do now? Such a big match on Thursday with already down to 10 men. And the lack of real confidence. I mean, real worrying times for Kilmarnock. But just quickly, I mean, this Aberdeen St Mirren game's been so open. Sean Rooney recently got booked a couple of minutes ago for a bad challenge. It's been real open here, so just waiting to find that break for them.
Yeah, I mean, St Johnstone have been absolutely brilliant, Robbie. Thanks for the update there. But St Johnstone have been really good. Really playing through Kilmarnock like ease here. And it was a great ball in and a great finish. I think if you're Craig Levine, it's a perfect 30 minutes. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant to see St Johnstone playing this well.
Aye, and I mean, now the Kilmarnock fans, they'll start getting on Derek McInnes's back if things don't turn around. I mean, I'm not too sure who they have in the cup next week, but that's got to be a must-win game for Kilmarnock. And now that McInnes has found himself 2-0 behind, things have got to change, and they've got to change fast before a big match on Thursday.
Yeah, Robbie, they've got Stuart Kettlewell's Motherwell in the Premier Sports Cup next week.
It's a tough game. It's a really tough game for them. I mean, again, that's another one where if Motherwell were at the top of the game, Kelly could be in real bother.
Yeah, and I want to ask you because it's something that I've thought about as well. Do you think maybe the uncertainty of somebody like Danny Armstrong, who's been talked about possibly leaving the club, do you think that's maybe played a part in some of the early season for him?
Yeah, I mean, who knows what Armstrong's thinking right now, you know, but he could be thinking in a week's time, you know, I could be away for here and playing my football somewhere else. But, you know, if you look at it from a McInnes standpoint, he's got to be really worried, you know, is he thinking some of my players' heads are turned elsewhere? I mean, by this time next week, Kilmarnock could be out of Europe, could be out of the Viaplay Cup, and could be really, really struggling and 0 points in these games. So it's real worrying for Kilmarnock if they can't salvage something from this game.
Yeah, I mean, thank you to everybody that's put in their thoughts on the matches. But I just want to now ask you about the match yesterday for Ross County and Dundee United. What do you make of both teams, Robbie?
I mean, I think we said on Friday after the derby, you know, Dundee United, if they played like they did in that game, they could go at Dingwall and get the 3 points. And looking at the way the game went, I think they were really unlucky not to get 3 points, to be honest. Obviously, Ross County, I will give credit to them. I thought the first half they were absolutely fantastic. really, really dominated the game well. Obviously, if we touch on the match a bit, in the first 10 seconds, Dundee United missed an absolute massive opportunity. They put themselves ahead. I think the boy for Dundee United just found it a bit too easy, and he's ended up messing it up. But I think if you look at County after that, they really, really dominated that game. And I think Goodwin would have been happy with the way the second half started, obviously getting the goal. I think obviously County missing the penalty with Brophy, you'd probably expect him to put that away 9 times out of 10. It was a real poor penalty, I thought. Just quickly, Aberdeen have taken the lead from a corner. After Ellery Balcom, the St. goalkeeper, makes a really, really bad mistake, leading to Aberdeen capitalising, getting themselves a corner. And they've just managed to put themselves 1-0 up. I'm just trying to find out quickly who scored. But I thought, just going back to the Ross County game.
That's good.
Eh?
I'm saying cheers for the update. That's good to hear.
I think it might have been number 2 for Aberdeen. I'm not quite sure who that is. No, it was number 14. Gay scored for Aberdeen. I'm not too sure who that is, but it's a good ball whipped in for Jamie McGrath. He just finds himself in the middle of the goal. I don't know what Balcom's doing there, but he manages to find his head on it and Aberdeen are 1-0 up. But just going back to Dingwall, I thought Miller Thompson's opening miss was harsh. I think he probably should have done better in terms of the penalty. I thought it was poor for Brophy. I thought it was a really good first half, as I said, from County. And just looking at the second half, I mean, Dundee United got off so quick and obviously get the goal. Will Ferry, I've got to say, it was good work for him to find the guy who scored. But obviously Dundee United couldn't hang on, and then Ronan Hale strikes at the end of the game, and it's a big blow for Goodwin. I mean, I thought he set his team up quite well. I think you've got to give credit to the goalkeeper from both clubs. I mean, I thought they made some tremendous saves, and I actually thought it was a really good game, where it was one that was probably written off on the Friday. A lot of people probably said that was probably not going to be the best game, but I thought it really lived up to some exciting stuff.
Yeah, I sort of think that Ross County might struggle because they were so reliant on Simon Murray, who's now at Dundee. But I don't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the same as well. Losing Jan Danda is another big player for Ross County who they lost. I think it was always going to be tough to sort of bounce back for that, but this Ronan Hale guy that scored the equaliser, he looks like a real good player for Ross County, and I think if you can keep him up there scoring goals, it can only be positive for them. But obviously Simon Murray, at Dundee, he's turned out to be quite a good player. I thought his hold-up play yesterday was fantastic. So I think it was a real struggle for Ross County to replace these guys, but so far they seem to have done it quite well.
Yeah, they do, and obviously we'll now touch on the championship, Robbie. What would be your standout score there?
I think definitely Scott Brown's team winning 5-0. I mean, that was absolutely magnificent for his side. I mean, he do that is phenomenal. And I think, Scott Brown's building something there, and he can really take that team forward. And I think they could be on to maybe win the championship. I know it's still very early on, but he's shown early signs of promise.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think they've got a lot of good players as well. They've got George Oakley, who was very good at Morton last year. He obviously played really well at in the Premiership before as well. So I think also as well you've got Falkirk as well. They've started well as well. I think they won yesterday again. So
Yeah, I mean, we had. Sorry, on you go.
Sorry, Robert. Sorry, I'm just going to say I think Falkirk have started really well, and I feel like they could be someone that could really challenge Ayr at the top of the championship.
Yeah, I mean, we had Alan on a podcast on Friday. Obviously, a big fan. I think, from what I heard, he was sort of speaking about how, positively turned around it's been at Falkirk after they had sort of a season, where there was some trouble sort of behind the scenes going on. So I think for Falkirk to bounce back, get a couple of good results, and they're off to an early good start.
Yeah, and obviously you've got Partick Thistle and Morton obviously, I was expecting Partick Thistle to really do well this season, but they've not started great. St Johnson are 1-1 with the goalkeeper there. It was another good chance for St Johnson, but it still stays at 2-0. But yeah, Partick Thistle. Do you think eventually they could be someone that could really challenge?
I think so. I mean, I think that's one of the things we said on Friday, how close the championship is. I mean, it is really, really tough to predict that league. I think if you look at some of the teams around the sort of bottom so far, I mean, I think Dunfermline have looked really poor so far. I don't think they've lived up to the standards that the fans would like. I mean, Dunfermline's one that I've said for a couple of years now probably should have been up competing to try and get in the Premiership, but they fall off. But I mean, Partick Thistle, I mean, they could so easily, I think that league could change so easily that, a Partick Thistle goes and wins the next 3 games and suddenly it's looking a lot more open. And I just think that's what I like about the Championship. And, I have admitted that I've not been the most biggest watcher when it comes to Championship. I've hardly watched any at all. I watched the Friday night game if it's on, but this season it's really putting eyes on it and it's really, attracting people like me to, sit down and watch the games more and see what it's all about because it does look really good this year.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Scott Brown as well. I think he's bought really well as well. He's got Jake Hasty, who used to play with Rangers and Motherwell. So I think there's a lot of interesting players there.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Scott Brown, I remember a couple of years ago before we got Robinson, he was actually linked with us. I mean, who knows what type of job he could have done if he came to us first, but he's building something special down there. And I think that, it's really, really good to see a manager like that because, he's not the most experienced manager in the world. Obviously, he had, I think, a stint down in England at some point. It didn't quite work out, and now he's up here. So I think there's definitely positive signs for Scott Brown, and I think he could make a real go of this championship this season, and potentially even win it.
Yeah, I think he definitely will. I, I want to now touch on, um, in terms of the European matches on Thursday. What did you make of Brand Robbie?
I thought Bram were exceptionally good. I think as a fan base, maybe not the team itself, but as a fan base, I think we certainly underestimated how good Bram were going to be. You know, that really does show the level between our league and when you step into Europe. I mean, it was just real quick passing, triangles. Just there was points where the goalkeeper was standing in line with the defenders, and we are sitting off them because we are undoubtedly going to be the more defensive side, trying to do that smash and grab type of tactic. So I think Brann were fantastic. We were very, very lucky after the first half not to be 3 or 4 nil down. I think Balcom was fantastic on the night. And then you get the second half, and to be honest, when the subs came on, I think the game changed a bit. I mean, the whole game plan was lump the balls up to Mandro and Ayunga and try and get them hold it down and playing off players. But every time they get the ball down, there was just 3 or 4 guys around them blocking them out of the game. So I think we made real tough work yet. I definitely don't think that Brand team are impossible to beat looking ahead to Thursday. I mean, since the subs came on, that we looked a lot more open, creating a lot more chances, and obviously we managed to find that late goal, which I don't know how we managed to get that and keep ourselves in the tie, but we did. Brilliant bit of work for James Scott again, who's looked a real good player since the start of the season. Obviously, lays it off to Olasanya, who finishes nicely. So I think there's definitely a lot of positives to take for the game in terms of the way we defended. But I mean, if you look at the way we lost that goal, it all comes because Gogic blocks a certain goal for Brand, making it 2-0. And he's up hugging everybody, and Gogic is trying to tell him get your head in the game, but no one seems to be listening. They're all hugging each other. And we just don't switch on. They put a corner in shot, and then a rebound manages to find its way into the back of the net for the first. So I think if we switched on at that moment, you're probably finding that we somehow win the game 1-0. But I mean, we've got to give huge credit to the defence because it was really good. And I just think if we set up like that on Thursday, and it's a goal for St Mirren. Sorry, we've just scored. Olasanya has made it 1 each just before half time. I don't know what the Aberdeen goalkeeper's doing there to save it, but Olasanya managed to nick the ball around him and pass into an empty net. So I won each in that game, but and terms of, us on Thursday, I just think we were so lucky to be able to get that point and about no point the result. But looking ahead to Thursday, it's going to be another difficult task, no doubt.
Yeah, I want to ask you in terms of that, Robbie, because it's great to see a full crowd in at Paisley. Do you think that really makes a big benefit to the players? Because I felt it was amazing to see so many fans there on Thursday as well.
I think so. I mean, that's probably I've been going since 2016 now, just the year before we won the championship. And even when we won it against Morton, I mean, I don't even think the stadium was that loud then. I mean, you heard it against Valor the couple of weeks ago when it was another sold out game. Absolutely incredible scenes. I mean, when Rooney's goal went in, the place was bouncing for the whole sort of game and obviously the match before and stuff. So it only benefits the players. And, I think that's how the players managed to push through and get that result because, we were on their backs and we were putting support onto them. And, the players feed off of that and really, really try. And I think it was only a positive thing for the players. And it clearly worked. And we'll need that all again on Thursday. I think there's 750 going over to Norway. So another big support and to get right behind the players.
Are you going, Robbie, no?
No, unfortunately, I can't make the trip. But I'm hoping if we make it by this one, I'll be able to get to Romania or Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan's a lot less likely because I think it's quite far away.
Yeah. I mean, Robbie, just talk to me about how the first half and the games went. Then, because we're almost at the 45-minute stage of the match.
Yeah, so it's actually just at half time here at Pittodrie, finished 1-1 in the first half. It's been a very, very open game, I'd say, for the first sort of half an hour. Both teams really try to get settled into it. I think Aberdeen had a couple of good chances. I don't think Malcolm's impressed at all, to be honest. He's looked very, very nervy at some points. I think in terms of Aberdeen's goal, a ball whipped in from Jamie McGrath. We know how good he can be from set pieces, and Gay finds his way onto it in the head. I don't know who's meant to be marking him because he has just left himself, but it's brilliant work for him and McGrath to get that goal. Then just on half time, around about the 46-minute mark, Paul Asanya somehow finds his way past two defenders, manages to nick the ball around the Aberdeen goalkeeper and manages to tap into an empty net. So I think with the first half, it's been very, very 50-50. I think Aberdeen maybe just having a bit more in the ball at times, but that's to be expected when they're the home team. But a lot of positives for both teams, and I think Jimmy Taylor will be raging that he's been into half time not winning the game. So a lot of positives for both clubs, but again, good for someone to get themselves a goal.
Yeah, and I think that's a kind of mentality thing that Stevie Robinson's going to change. That you can go to these places and you can really do really well and expect your team to actually, maybe not if you get the 3 points every time, but if you can put a proper challenge in.
Yeah, I mean, I think when Robinson first came to the club, I think, his first half in season, we went about 10 games, I think it was, without a single point away from home. So I think it tells you all you need to know. The one thing Robinson has clearly stated before the start of the season, before the start of last season, was fix the away form and, we can turn this around and be competing in the top six. And if you look at the way it happened last season, I mean, on opening day of the season, we beat Hibs 3-2 in the capital. So I think Robinson's turned around that away form. We should be going to these places not being scared to compete against your Aberdeens and Hearts and Hibs, even though they are tough places to go. And we go and we set up the way Robinson wants, and it definitely works. I mean, right now we're in a game with Aberdeen after playing half of the team, playing a full 90 minutes on Thursday. So it's good to see that positive mentality for the players, and they've worked so hard, and it's really good to see because we're getting results on the pitch.
Sorry, Robbie, I just want to jump in there. The game that much is just about to go to half time. It's still 2-0. Yeah, that's the half time whistle just went, Robbie. I mean, in terms of that result, it's some result for St Johnstone so far.
100%. I think Craig Levein, I don't think he can ask for much more, to be honest. Obviously set his team up with a game plan, but it's clearly working. I like to look at both sides, and if you look at Kilmarnock, I mean, that is really, really worrying. They have so far, been knocked out the Europa League to, Cercle Bruges, who I'll admit, I think you said it as well, they didn't look particularly good across either legs. I thought it was a real chance for Kelly to advance, but obviously they didn't. Then picking up a draw against Tromso, who, again, they weren't particularly good either. I thought Kelly could have capitalised on that, and then obviously going to Celtic, it's always going to be a tough task. So I think it's real worrying for Kilmarnock's Derek McInnes' side, and I think, if they get knocked out the Conference League this Thursday, the fans are going to be really, really not happy, and then obviously you've got the cup game at the weekend, and if they lose that, it's danger signs for Derek McInnes. The fans will start getting on his back, and there's no doubt he has done a good job, and you can't take that away from him, because to get top 5 in the league that we had last season was brilliant, but to now be potentially out of Europe on Thursday if things don't improve, losing to St Johnstone 2-0, losing to Celtic, getting put out the Europa League to a team that were bang average, it is unacceptable, and unfortunately for McInnes, the fans will get on his back.
Yeah, I think that's spot on there, especially that, Robbie, that Tromso side. I watched the match on Thursday, and when I'm watching it, I'm thinking that is a side that Derek McInnes will be thinking, well, that is a side that we should be beating. You'll know from Brand that they are second top, but Tromso are pretty low down in the table.
Yeah, I think Tromso are fighting relegation so far this season, so I think it was a real chance for Kelly to go and win that game, and I've not actually managed to see the Tromso highlights back yet, so I've not managed to see how Kelly played overall, but from what I heard, it was real negative stuff, and I think, we speak about the step up in quality from our league to the Norwegian league, which, clearly shows with a team like Brann, but Kelly should be going and competing with this Tromso team, and probably should have been 2 or 3 up on paper if you look before the game, and now they find themselves with a difficult task where, yes, they might be fighting relegation, but you're going over to Norway if play a game, and it's never going to be easy over there. It'll always be tough. So I think Kelly are in real danger, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Robbie. I just now want to ask you about St Johnstone, because I know people are not big fans of Craig and what he offers, but I think they've made quite a lot of really good signings this summer so far, to be honest. I said that to Graham before. I think the guy that used to play for Hearts, Opiezu, and you've got the guy that they bought from the B team of Hearts as well. And I'm just thinking, like, St Johnstone look as if they're well organised and they're buying into what the manager's saying.
Yeah, when Craig Levein came in, I think a lot of St Johnstone fans were probably a bit disappointed with the appointment. I think they maybe thought they could have got a bit better. I think Craig Levein, for the first couple of games, if I'm right, he got a couple of wins in his first games, actually. So I think there was always positive signs looking ahead. Obviously, surviving relegation last season, it was always going to be difficult. At Piezu, we know how good he can be. I think at Hearts, I don't exactly think he was the best striker, but he definitely has some quality that St Johnstone can take. And I think with the way they set up against Aberdeen, unfortunately they didn't manage to get a point for the game, but I think they set up very well, especially in the second half. And I think looking at this one, obviously they find themselves 2-0 up at half time. I think Levein's got his team set up a very, very good way, and there's a lot of players in there that will make a difference. I know firsthand that Cammy McPherson, who used to play with us, I know he isn't exactly the best player in the world, and obviously I don't think he was the quality enough for us, but for the team that's fighting relegation, there's no doubt that a guy like McPherson can be in there in the midfield and creating things, and I think that's only a real positive for St Johnstone. So I think if Craig Levein keeps results like this up, St Johnstone could easily stay up this season, I think.
Yeah, I think they definitely will. To be honest. I think the one that I worry about is Motherwell. I think Motherwell look a little bit off it, I would say. I just don't. I think back to the Premier Sports Trophy where they played Partick Thistle, and I spoke to Stephen and I spoke to you guys, and I said, "What is that Motherwell game?" And I thought they didn't look great.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of people that done a vlog on the game actually, and it looked very, very defensive minded for Kettlewell, almost like he wanted to play for the point, which, for a team like Motherwell, you should be going at home to Partick Thistle and try to get the result in, because Motherwell should have that quality, but it just shows you, what a couple of injuries can do to a team. I mean, Kettlewell's now looking, I think it's definitely positive from yesterday, bar the result. I think Kettlewell can take a lot away for a team that, went to Hampden, where it doesn't feel like obviously it feels like an away match, but again, you are going to a place where it isn't played so often, it is only really for semi-finals and finals, so you're going to a place where you don't play often. I think, you're going there, and Kettlewell, I think he's got to be positive for that 2-1 result. I mean, bar the result, if you look at that game, Lennon Miller had a brilliant chance in the first half as well. It put Motherwell, I think it was 2-0 up. 2-1 up, sorry. So if Lennon Miller takes that chance, Motherwell in a real good game. And I think Kettlewell needs to look at that, take positives, and I think when all the injuries come back, they'll definitely look a better team, and I think they'll look a team that can compete with teams, because I think that's what Kettlewell's trying to build, and he has obviously made some signings, but there's a lot of injuries in there, and I think they were very, very fortunate to have Lennon Miller back.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Robbie. I want to now move it across to the national team a little bit. What do you make of Scott McTominay? Do you think he could possibly be moving on from Manchester City, and you think it would benefit him for the Scotland team as well? Obviously, it didn't play much attention because of the fact that he was a kind of super sub for Ten Hag when Man U were getting beaten, he would pop on and score 2 goals. But I think even when you look at yesterday when Man U go out to Man City in penalties, but he didn't play much, Robbie, and I'm thinking, surely for a guy that wants to play international football, he needs to move on.
Yeah, I mean, look, Scott McTominay is a great player. He has been for Scotland and he has been for United. I think there's some United fans that I strongly disagree with their opinions on McTominay. A lot of people seem to write him off at United, which I managed to see quite a bit of United last season, because a lot of the games are obviously on the TV and stuff. So I think McTominay's always been that player. I'm not saying they should be starting at United, because they have some really, really good defensive midfielders in there, but he is that good impact player, and I think now that he's potentially getting a move to another club, it's can only be good for him. It'll get him more game time, and I think in terms of the national team for McTominay, he's been one of the key players. It was a top goal scorer in the qualifying, so he's been superb for Scotland, and I think Steve Clarke needs to be, we spoke about how big a miss McGregor will be, but you've got people in the midfield like Billy Gilmore, Scott McTominay, you've got Christie can play in there as well. There's a lot of quality in there. Lewis Ferguson's another one that can come into the national team. Obviously, a lot of younger players around the league. So I think with Steve Clarke, he has got to play. I think McTominay should be one of them midfielders that you play. But there's a lot of quality in there as well for Clarke. And I just think, with McGregor being gone, yes, we've lost a real leader. But again, there's a lot of quality in there, like McTominay, who's had good Premier League experience. So I think for McTominay moving, it will only be a good thing for him, and in terms of the national team, it will only be better for us as well.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about McGregor possibly moving on from Scotland in the first half of the show. Who do you think is the natural replacement? Do you think it's a Miller from Motherwell? Do you think it's a Watson from Kilmarnock? Who is the kind of natural progression, or would you kind of look at maybe bringing in someone like Conor Barron, who's someone spoke about in the first hour, or would you even look at someone that's like a Ryan Jack, or who are you kind of thinking, Robbie?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the leaders we have in the dressing room, your likes of McGinn, McTominay, obviously Robertson, the likes of them type of guys, we should be looking to bring some of these young players in, and you just listed a few of them off there. I mean, I think we said during the Euro show how, there doesn't seem to be much coming through, but it just takes one look at that midfield section to know how much talent's especially coming through there. And if you look at the likes of Watson and Miller, well, we should be trying to build a national team up of these guys and get them in for these next as it Nation League games against Portugal and stuff. Get them in there, get them in the dressing room, get them some experience in these type of games where you're going to be up against some great players. I mean, you just need to look at Portugal's squad to realise how good they are. So I think get these young guys like your Watson and Miller in the dressing room. I'm not saying play them because they are still really, really young guys, but get them on for a couple of minutes at the end of a game, 15, 20 minutes to go, fling some of them on, really test what they're all about because, it is good having that midfield. We've got, as we said, Ferguson, McTominay, McGinn, but we want to be looking ahead to the future. In the next probably 5 years, McGinn and McTominay might not be playing for Scotland anymore, so we do need to start looking ahead to the future. And I think if you're Clark, you've got to pick at these guys like Ferguson and Miller and Watson and get them playing games.
Yeah, I think that's a great point you make there, Robbie. In terms of looking towards the second half, because both of the matches will be set to be off soon, what are you thinking about this second half for Aberdeen versus your club, St Mirren?
I think with the way the first half went, I said before the game I'd be more than happy taking a point for this game. With the way the first half went, I really don't think you could call this. This game could go any way at all. When I think again, one crucial part of our game will be the substitutions. In the last couple of weeks, brand substitutions came on. We got a point out of the game. I keep calling it a point. It's not a point. It's a draw. We got a draw at the game, but we're actually just making a substitution right now. Ocean Smith is coming onto the park. I'm not quite sure who's going off yet. I think it may have been Roland Adowu who's been off, who's been another fantastic player for us. But again, you look at the Hibs game, substitutions came on, we managed to get ourselves up 3-0. So the substitutions have been a key part of the game. And I think one thing I said a couple of seasons ago when Robinson first came in is he doesn't like to change it too early. Now he's got his own players in that he trusts. He is making the substitutions early, and it's been the last couple of games now where we have made half-time substitutions, and it is good to see. I think a lot of the fan base, have been getting on his back for not making substitutions at the right times, and obviously, we don't manage the game, so we don't know when he wants to make subs, but you can see sometimes the subs were needed, and when he wasn't making it, it was frustrating. So it's good to see now that we're getting into a second half against Aberdeen, still in the game, which a couple of years ago we probably would have been out of the game probably 3-0 by this point. But it's really good to see, and it's really positive what that Stephen Robinson's doing. So I just hope we keep it up for the second half. And listen, I think we could go and sneak this 2-1.
Yeah, I think that just shows how far the club has come. That fans like you and others, I'm sure, are really positive about the club.
Yeah, 100%. There's a real positivity in Paisley right now. I mean, you just seen it with the Valor match and the Brand match. Fans turning out their numbers. We really believe that this club's going far. And, you need to give a special shout out to Tony Fitzpatrick. I mean, he's the man that said when we were in the Championship, we'd be playing European football, and everybody laughed at him. And now we're actually here in Europe, competing away at places like Pittodrie and Easter Road and Tynecastle. So it's real positive signs for Robinson. It's a real positive time to be a St Mirren fan right now, I'd say.
Yeah, and obviously the difficult thing for St Mirren fans is that possibly because he's doing so well that other teams may be wanting to take him on board.
Yeah, I mean, we've looked at the Hibs job before. That's always been a popular one for Robinson to take. He's always come out and denied any rumours. The most recent one was the Sunderland job, and he said he hadn't even been contacted about that. So, I mean, I think when you always hear them rumours, you always worry a bit, because if we lose Robinson, I mean, realistically, who are we going to get at this moment in time? I mean, he could be taken away from us at any moment. I think it was positive signs to hear that Dermot O'Carroll did not want the Raith job down the Championship. I think they're looking for a manager. I believe Dermot O'Carroll has rejected that offer to be the number one man. So it's positive to see that not only Robinson, but the whole of the backroom team are, they're loyal and they really see a future at the club and what's there around for it. So it's positive for us to see. But again, as you said, it is worrying that we could lose Robinson at any time, and it would be really, really bad if we can't get a good replacement in. But looking ahead to the second half in your game, I mean, can St Johnstone get more? Or is it a case of Kelly trying to fight their way back in it?
Yeah, I mean that the second half just about to be started again because there was a bit of delay because of the red card to Joe Wright. So this game's just about to kick off. But yeah, I think in terms of this match, I think Derek will try and be as optimistic, but I think as well you need to pay credit to St Johnson here because not everybody expected them to go to a difficult place like that. And I know people can say, they've been playing European football. They're not as ready to be involved. But yeah, I think that it's a great result for Craig and it's a great result for St Johnson.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, St Johnstone going away to anywhere, picking up, getting 2 goals, especially at a place where that is a plastic pitch, is really, really impressive. But, I mean, I need to ask you, I mean, for what I watched in the game on Thursday, well, for what I heard, sorry, it sounded really, really quiet at Rugby Park for large parts of the game from the fans. I mean, I don't know if you found that the case watching it, but it seemed like it was a really quiet place during parts of the game.
Yeah, I was switching between both games, Robin, but yeah, I did feel like there wasn't as big a crowd there as I thought there would have been. It's probably about 20 seconds into the second half, and St Johnson have already got a corner kick here.
It's
Oh,
worrying.
yeah, it's still 2-0. Yeah, yeah, I think it's a bit of a difficult time for Derek at the moment because because see as much as like last season and finishing fifth and stuff, I think the expectation then grows, Robbie. The fact that you got into Europe and you brought in players like Robbie McCroney, you've got Danny Armstrong, you've got even Bruce Anderson, who is a very good player, even though he played for David Martindale's side at the bottom of the table. He's still a very good asset to the club.
Yeah, I mean, with the highs of Kelly last season, I think the expectation grows, and you just need to look at us in Dundee. The expectation for us now is we want to be up in top six competing every season, which, I'd argue we probably have one of the lowest budgets in and around that top six sort of club. So it's always going to be difficult for us. Obviously, there's a lot of expectation on the likes of McInnes and Robinson and Docherty now to go out into just results and getting the top six. And, for Kilmarnock not starting off so well, it's worrying for them that, if Derek McInnes gets another couple of losses in the next week in the 2 big games against Tromsø and Motherwell, the fans, as I said, will really get on his back. And it wouldn't surprise me, if he goes the next couple of weeks without getting a win, you could look at him as maybe the first sacking of the season. And I think Kilmarnock and the board will be a bit more lenient to give him more time because how well he has done. But that would be them out of 2 competitions that, they were so excited to play in. And who knows? But I mean, if McInnes gets sacked, it could be dangerous signs at Kelly again. And if they start losing more players, then it's only going to get worse for them.
Yeah, because as you say, football is very fickle, Robbie, especially with social media and all of these platforms for people to voice their opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take long for the manager to get on the bad bandwagon with fans. I mean, it happened with Goodwin at us. It's happened with Robinson in his first couple of months. So it is, it's hard for the manager in the day's game to try and keep his job for more than a year.
I think the only one that I was really surprised at was Neil Lennon at Celtic during COVID when Celtic were 25 points behind and they still didn't sack Neil Lennon. I just found it strange.
Yeah, I mean, I've written about that era for Celtic went wrong. I mean, they had players in there that just came up here and just simply weren't good enough for it. I mean, you look at that back line, you had Shane Duffy as probably the key one. I mean, he came up here, for how much Premier League experience he has. I think that's when sort of players realise, the Scottish game isn't a joke and it is a tough league to come to because you see players come up here all the time with big reputations and they come up and they really struggle at this level. And I think I agree. I mean, the fact that Neil Lennon did not get sacked sooner was beneath me. I mean, I just couldn't believe it watching it. I mean, we managed to beat them at Celtic Park 2-1 during that time, and that was the first time we'd done it in years. So, I mean, I think that shows you just how bad that Celtic team were, and I think they should be grateful they got Ange, because also we know what Ange went on to do. But managers don't get along. I think Hibs is a good example of that. I mean, you look at Montgomery and you look at Michael Beale at Rangers. You know, these managers don't get along, and they're gone.
Yeah, and I think Michael Beale's a great example, because I want to ask you about the Rangers manager, because I find it really strange. Also, I'm with you on Friday, but I was watching what you guys were saying. I find it strange that a club the size of Rangers really have agreed to let this guy stay for another 4 years, because they know for a fact that if they finish say 10 to 12 points behind Celtic, even though it's a rebuilding period, the supporters won't take it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it earlier. You know, with the players that Rangers have brought in, yes, they'll be good in 4 or 5 years. Rangers need now, and I think that's the big thing that you see Rangers fans complaining about online. You know, they need to be competing now, not in 4 or 5 years. And I think with Clement signing that contract, as I said, I believe it's just a PR stunt. I think they've just done it so that Rangers fans have a bit of happiness before the start of the season, because it has been a mess at Rangers, and it will continue to be until, you know, they get back at Ibrox and get back on top. And Aberdeen have just went 2-1 up, and it's the old player Jamie McGrath. That one hurts a wee bit, but it's a great ball across the box. McGrath just takes a touch inside, Camley finishes into the bottom right, and Aberdeen find themselves 2-1 ahead. But as I said, Rangers, you know, it's a mess until they can get back at Ibrox playing under the fans again and get real signs of intent in, because so far they've signed a guy from AC Milan that, you know, hasn't had any first team appearances at the club, not many B team appearances either, and you're also signing a striker who's not really well known, but so far has already been injured, and you paid £2.5 million for him. I mean, if you just double that, you can probably go and get Lawrence Shanklin for that, a quality, well-known player in the league. So it's definitely a mess at Rangers right now.
And I think that's a great point you make about the striker. I mean, the fact that Clement's saying he's not ready to play and he's still young and he's developing, that's okay. But like a club in the state that Rangers are in, Rangers need ready-made players to come in that team and score goals.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you just need to look at Conor Barron. I mean, he is a guy who was at Aberdeen, was playing regularly, and, you know, Clement went out and signed him to Rangers, and you just need to look at how good he is. And then you need to look at Cherny as well, another one that was fantastic yesterday. He comes in for Wolfsburg. Oh, I get it's on loan, but again, that's a real sign of intent to get a guy like that and who's really, really well experienced in the Bundesliga, and look how well he's doing. So I think Clement just needs to make more signings like that. I mean, obviously, Proper didn't have the greatest debut, getting an own goal and a yellow card. I heard it was kind of comfortable bar from that, but I think Clement just needs to go out and get more signings intent and try and, you know, get this title race back on, because already it's looking quite worrying, and it's looking like Celtic could easily run away with it.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Robbie, in terms of telling the Aberdeen coach, see, when you heard the appointment, were you happy with it? Because I think it's great for Scottish football to try something different. I know you've had the bad experience of Angelo Alessio from the Italian football, but I think that this guy, Jimmy Tellin, he had a great reputation over in Sweden, and obviously as well, not that I'm being disrespectful to Sweden, but it's got a kind of same kind of feel to it as Scottish football at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, when Thielen was announced, I think I looked at it and went, you know, we had Nick Montgomery come into Hibs, who was one, again, not from that sort of manager merry-go-round, if you want to call it that, because we've seen it a lot of times. I mean, you've seen Malcolm Mackay walk back out of Ross County, and it was a whole mess there. And I think for Hibs, firstly, to appoint a guy like Montgomery, that was brave. Obviously, didn't work. I just don't think it was right for the league. But for then Aberdeen to go and appoint Thielen as the manager, you know, it was brave. And I think it was a risk they needed to take, because they could have just went and signed another one of them guys that has been in the league before, but that's not what they wanted to do. So I think they signed them early signs. They look really, really good. I mean, and this game looks really, really well set up. You can tell he likes to play after the creative players. I mean, McGrath's probably been one of the most influential players in the game so far. I think he was again on Monday. I thought he was outstanding, getting himself a goal and assist. So I think I think Phelan can only be good for the league. I think he'll do well at Aberdeen. Aberdeen could really be pushing by the end of the season into that top four spot.
And just touching on the match, Roy, how's the second half shaping up?
The second half's been good so far. I mean, obviously Aberdeen getting the second goal win, Jamie McGrath. Again, that one hurts because he's got himself another goal and assist against us. So that one's a sore one to take. But I mean, Aberdeen again have looked really good. Us, we just look like we're taking a while to get into the game. James Scott had a really good shot there, saved comfortably by, I think it's Mitov in goal for Aberdeen. A comfortable save for him. So it's been a decent start in the second half.
Yeah, and obviously here at Rugby Park, St Johnstone are in cruise control. St Johnstone are in cruise control. It's it's just kind of tabled out to a easy kind of 2-0 win. But I'm sure with players like Danny Armstrong in the park, then Kilmarnock they'll have a stage where they can really buy into the match. But obviously the difficult thing for this match is that they're down to 10 men.
Yeah, it's always going to be difficult when you're down to 10 minutes. It's hard enough being 2-0 down where every man in the park, never mind one less. I mean, if Kilmarnock, though, can get themselves together and get themselves a goal, it sets up a really good finish at Rugby Park. I mean, one goal in it, it really could go either way. So I think Kilmarnock need to try and hunt for that goal. If St Johnstone go 3-0 up, just like Dundee versus Hearts, it becomes a mountain to climb. And I'm not sure if Kilmarnock can do it. And this is what I mean. The fans, I can guarantee you after the game, will be right on McInnes's back because their next game is arguably the biggest game the club's had for many, many a year. And they need to go out to Tromsø in Norway and go and win the game because that Tromsø team are fighting relegation. So this is what I mean. This is when the fans will start getting on your back and questioning if you're the right man to go forward. And for all that McInnes has done well, the fans will be on his back now.
And I think that's a good point you make, Robbie, because it's like everybody talks about that Scottish teams are not doing well in Europe because of the draw. But I think when you see the draw here, you see Derek McInnes' side drawing against a club that are close to the bottom of the table, you can expect them to win. But that's a match where you think, well, that's a kind of UEFA points in the bag because that's one where you kind of is very, very achievable for Kilmarnock.
Yeah, I mean, we speak about Scottish clubs all the time in Europe, and I mean, it's not exactly been the best. I think the last best thing we had was obviously Rangers Europa League run. That heavily helped us. I think just looking at the other teams, though, I mean, you look at Kilmarnock, they absolutely should be winning that over 2 legs against Tromsø. I think, obviously, I mean, I say it, I don't like a home leg first. I think you're always better going away and then coming to home, try to get something at the game. But I mean, for a team like Kilmarnock to be still drawn with Tromsø, I'm really surprised. And for that Tromsø team fighting relegation, I know Kilmarnock should be winning, but that'll be tough for them. Obviously, I'm not trying to make excuses for us because I know we have the ability to beat Brann, but I will argue that Brann are competing up there with Bodo Glimt so I think it'll be a harder game definitely for us. You just need to look at the other teams. I mean, Hearts, they play Victoria Pilsen, who, a Czech Republic side, they probably should be beating them. I think they'll win 2-1 on the first leg. So I think Hearts need to take a lot of confidence for their game as well. They probably should be beating any of the 2 teams over 2 legs. Then obviously Celtic, they've got the bypass into the league phase. Then you just need to look at Rangers. I mean, they probably should be beating Dynamo Kiev. If we go into this next set of games, though, I mean, Salzburg, if they go through, it'll be no easy game for them. I mean, Salzburg are a very, very well-known team in Europe, so a lot of the teams, I just worry that the 3 teams that aren't Hearts are Celtic, which saw us, Killie and Rangers could be out of these legs and by next Friday, which if all of us are, it's a real worry for Scottish football once again. And I think Mikey and Graham said it on the show. If Kilmarnock can't beat Tromso on Thursday, I think that one needs to go down as an embarrassing result for Scottish football because they should have enough quality to go and win the game.
Yeah, I think they should, especially in the attacking areas that we spoke about with Bruce Anderson, Frizzell, Ronan McKenzie, Bobby Wales, who obviously scored the other night. You know, they've got a lot of players there that can really take the match by the scruff of the neck and really go on and win that game, because I think it's about time, Robbie, that one of the Scottish teams outside of Celtic and Rangers really showed what they're all about and tried to put Scottish football back on the map again.
I think so. I mean, I'd argue you could even add Celtic into that equation. I know, again, they've had hard games against your likes of Atletico Madrid and stuff in the Champions League, but there's been some games in the Champions League for Celtic where they really should be going out and beating some of these teams. I mean, I can't get that, we always seem to be let down by our teams in Europe. And, no offence to Motherwell and stuff, but obviously you look at the result against Sligo Rovers a couple of years ago, that's another one, labelled embarrassing. I just think, I mean, listen, I'll always try and look at both sides of it. I think if you look at our teams, I don't think it helps that, we are playing these European qualifiers when teams aren't even kicked a ball yet in our league and other teams are halfway through their season. I mean, I think that's how we struggled against Valor a couple of weeks ago. I think that I think we struggled against Valor just simply because Valor were 19 games through their season away from home, and obviously we were just starting our season, so we were obviously going to struggle away. But I'm just glad we managed to get the job done. Now we're playing against a brand team that look, they're good again. But I think you're right. I think Scottish teams do need to start showing a wee bit more of their worth in Europe, and don't be afraid to play against these teams. I think that's the other thing you see as well. I think a lot of the teams are scared against some of these top class players. I mean, I think Celtic got off to a perfect start in the Champions League. I think it was last season or the season before against Real Madrid, and then it all went south. I mean, if Scottish teams can start playing with that bit more freedom at home and, saying this is our turf, we will be the better team in this game. I think you can really start to see a difference, and I just don't think we've made that happen so far. I mean, you just need to look at our result and Kelly result, which showed that, yes, we are playing a team that's second in the Norwegian League, and I get that, but, we barely laid a glove on Bran until the substitutions came on, so it was real negative stuff at times, and with what I heard against Kelly again, they were real negative against Tromso as well, so I do agree with your point. I think teams doing it start showing their worth a bit more in Europe especially.
But then also, do you not look at it down to a sort of thing where it's kind of even teams in Norway have got more potential money than, say, St Mirren or Aberdeen, for example? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, for us, we are probably one of the lower ranked teams based on reputation and sort of money wise in Europe still. But you just need to look at the players on the park. I mean, you just need to look at us against Brann. Yes, Brann probably have the better team, man to man. I'm not saying that any differently, but we probably should have put a foothold in that game and tried to, go at them, because if we had a runner on the park, we could have went at them. And I think it's the same with Kelly. Yes, we might not have the most money, but we need to start going toe to toe with these teams and not just sitting back praying that we can get through a tie.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And obviously we spoke about it in the first 60 minutes, Robbie, but I want to go back to it because Gregor and Graham have both touched on the Dundee and Hearts match from a different perspective. So we'll go through it then. See, from a Dundee point of view, see this early on, this early on in the season, do you think that Tony Docherty's talking about relegation staying up, or do you think deep down when he's in the dressing room he's thinking, right, get right, I think we can possibly get into the top six, and that's what we're going to be aiming for? I know people say when they're talking to Sky or they're talking to TNT or Premier Sports, they say, oh yeah, we're just hoping to stay up. But do you think on the back of that, that he'll kind of say inwardly he'll set targets for the players to go, right, well, everybody's saying relegation, but as a squad, we want to finish top six.
I think they definitely can finish top six. I mean, if you sit down with any manager before the ball's kicked and the season started, they will tell you, I don't have an expect. They'll always say, I don't have a specific target. I just want to go out and I want to try and win every game that I can. And I want to win every game. That's always a manager's mentality. Robinson said it for the past couple of seasons. I'm sure Docherty's probably said it at some points as well. You just want to go out and you want to be brave against the teams. I mean, I'm not saying they should be competing with Old Firm. Sorry, but just go out and win as many games as possible. And I think they do that. I mean, an absolute brilliant start of the season for Tony Docherty's men against Hearts. It's a brilliant 3 points, 3-1. I mean, they absolutely wiped them off the park in the first half, and I think that if they can keep that kind of performance up, then again, I think they could so easily be in that top six shout. I mean, Docherty will probably be telling his players after that. I mean, if we play like that, lads, we can so easily be in this top 4, top 5 race. I mean, I don't see why not. Again, it's going to be a very competitive league this year. I think there'll be a lot of teams wanting to get into that top 6 again, especially your Aberdeen, Hibs. They'll be wanting to be in the top 6. So I think you need to look at it as, if you're a manager, as just have trust in your players, and I think Docherty does, and I think you can see that on the park because every player against Hearts were absolutely phenomenal. For the goalkeeper to the strikers, everybody was brilliant in that game. So I think Docherty should be looking more up at the top 6 area because he definitely has a squad that can compete for top 6.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Robbie. And I think Tony Docherty is a great example of that. If you trust in a very young manager, then they can bring success. And I think Scottish football is a perfect place for that, Robbie. I just want to touch on something Graham touched on about 5 or 6 minutes ago, and that was about Stephen Naismith. He tended to change his system quite a lot. I think that's something that maybe is that's having a big difference onto the players, because we all know that people like Brendan Rodgers and people like that, they always talk about you need to give your players clear messages, and I think sometimes if Stephen Naismith is changing his formation and changing how he's playing, that can be sometimes a little bit on the bad end for the opposite manager. So do you agree with Graham that sometimes maybe he's changing his system too much?
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, again, I said it. I looked at the back three before the game, and I seen a lot of Hearts fans talking about it online, and no one was happy to see the back three. You just need to go to Tynecastle last week against Rangers and look at how well the back four done. I mean, I think we spoke about it. It could potentially hurt players and but really mess with their minds that they are switching up formation and system a lot. I mean, from yesterday, you just need to look at Gerald Taylor to realise how much that affected him. He went for playing the solid right back role, which he done so well in. He picked his moments to go up the park, to now playing a role where you need to run up and down all game, and you are playing in that sort of wing back role. So it definitely can confuse a player, I think, and confuse a lot of the players, and I think that's what it did. I think that's why it went so wrong. I mean, Dundee just basically strolled through the Hearts midfield, and it was so easy for them. And again, I think we said it in the group chat. I mean, I think Shankland in the deeper role, it just doesn't seem to work. I really don't see the benefit of playing Shankland deeper when you have such a clinical goal scorer there. I know Graham said it's taking Vargas on the ball and get a bit more pace up front, but you just need to look at Shankland's goal return to realise, play the 4-2-3-1, play Vargas out wide, and play Shankland through the middle, and it'll work. So I think Naismith, but I'll give him his credit, he's still a very young manager, still got a lot to learn. And I think yesterday was a learning lesson for Naismith, and I think he will learn from it. And I've got no doubt in my mind they'll still finish third at the end of the season. But again, you're away for Falkirk next week. If the lineup comes out and it's another back three, our Hearts fans may be getting a bit worried that this is going to be the ongoing system for the future. And if it is, then Hearts might be in a bit of bother.
I want to ask you, what do you make of that Vargas that plays for Hearts, because I think Vargas is a weird one, Robbie, because I think he's got a lot of pace, but I think his end product's not there for me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that sort of goes into that Shankland debate. Just play Vargas out on the left, where I'm not saying that a winger just runs, but there's obviously a lot more to it. But play Vargas out on the left, get him on the ball, get him putting balls into the box, and there's the issue to that. There's a solution to that problem. Have that finisher up there in Lawrence Shankland, who we know can score goals, and he will get goals. So I think with Vargas, you just need to get him playing at the wing, and I think if you play Vargas out at the wing and get him delivering balls into the box, there's no doubt that Shankland will get the goals. So I think that's a solution to the problem. That obviously, I mean, every Hearts fan seems to be able to know that, bar Stephen Naismith for some reason. I don't know if Naismith's maybe more suited to that three back. That's why he keeps playing it. But just play Shankland up front. It'll work.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I didn't understand why Danda was he was playing from the bench.
Yeah, I mean, him and Lewis Spittle, I mean, we speak about, I think Graham said it multiple times, Hearts from last season, the one thing you'd maybe say they were lacking was a creative player in the midfield. They've now brought in two very well creative players in Danda and Spittle, and Naismith started neither of them yesterday, so you're sort of looking at that thing, why bring these players in if you're just not going to play them? I mean, I don't know about you, but I thought Danda was probably the standout player for me last week. I thought against Rangers he was absolutely phenomenal. He was getting on the ball, dragging the team forward and creating chances. So I think next week heading into the cup games, you need to play Danda because I think he's the big player for Hearts, and I think he can create a lot.
I mean, I think Danda was brilliant. I mean, he was so good last year for Ross County, and I feel like last week at Tynecastle, he probably should have scored. I think if the ball bounced a little bit further, he scores that. So yeah, I think he's done really well. I just want to talk about um, this game that I'm watching at Rugby Park. St Johnstone are completely dominating Kilmarnock here, and I'm just really surprised, Robbie. But credit to Craig for putting on such a good performance at Rugby Park here. I don't want to bring in tiredness and things like that, but I think St Johnstone have been really good.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to give full credit to St Johnstone. I don't like taking anything away from them because that is absolutely brilliant to go to Rugby Park and be so comfortable is amazing. I mean, we went to Rugby Park a few times last season and, we were comfortable in the first half and then it fell away for us in the second half. But all credit must go to Craig Levein. I mean, the way he's got that team set up, they just seem so comfortable right now. And it's a shocker to me. I mean, Kilmarnock, are they suffering from the European hangover that we spoke about? I mean, I think they've played Thursday, Sunday for the last 3 weeks. So I think that, it is a bit of tiredness keeping in, but that's taking absolutely nothing away from St Johnstone because by the sounds of it, they've been absolutely fantastic today.
Yeah, they definitely have been. I mean, and I think that sometimes that I'm not going to use Chelsea as an example, but I think it's great that the new owners really bought into Craig Levein as well, because sometimes when a new owner comes in, they kind of want to do it their way and they want to try and bring somebody else in. But yeah, I just feel like Craig Levein's possibly going to do a very good job this season.
I think so. I mean, early on, it's looking like a lot of people's predictions will be wrong because a lot of people thought they had no chance. I mean, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Graham was one of them that maybe thought St Johnstone didn't really have a chance. I think Mikey said it as well. So I think Craig Levein's going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. You know what? I'm all for it. I mean, you look at the guys like Craig Levein, who's been a lot of trust put in him to try and keep this St Johnstone team up. So a team that, were battling relegation last year. You just need to look at Dockett at Dundee as well, how much trust been put in him to keep going forward. So I think it's only good for the league that these managers are getting a lot more time to show what they can do. And, it's working because you're seeing the results now at Rugby Park. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal for St Johnstone to get 3 points up there and be so comfortable.
Yeah, and as we're speaking, Danny Armstrong's just been booked for diving. So, yeah.
Oh, I don't think he's in the right mindset Right now, I really don't. I don't think a lot of the Kilmarnock players are. I feel like their heads are a bit all over the place, and I think that's really affecting results on the pitch.
I think that's a good point you make, and I'm going to go on to transfers. Robbie, who do you think's been the standout transfer being made this season in Scotland for you?
I mean, I think there's a lot. I mean, if you're going off of just purely names, I mean, you just need to look at Schmeichel at Celtic. Yeah, I mean, he speaks for himself how experienced he is. I think if you're going a bit deeper down the leagues, I mean, from what I've seen so far, again, we spoke about it before, Jan Dand at Hearts, absolutely amazing. Some signing for Hearts, obviously picking him and Spittle up for free is amazing. You just need to look at us. I think when we are signing a player, obviously we lost Ryan Strain to Dundee United, which again, that's another good bit of business for them. But, we replaced them with Sean Rooney, who's undoubtedly been probably one of our best players. I mean, he's come off in this game, he came off about 10 minutes ago. But he's looked really good. I think you just need to look at some of the loan signings that have been made as well. Obviously, you've got Vaclav Czerny at Rangers, who looks really good. Well, looking down the league, obviously, you've got the Hearts boy that went to St Johnstone, who's looked really good. So, I actually think there's been a lot of good business done in Scotland, especially this season. I mean, I was talking to a few England fans who follow a couple of Premier League clubs, and they were saying just how flat it's been down there. Obviously, for the likes of Liverpool, who haven't signed anyone yet. So, I think up here, definitely, it's been really positive. And, you love to see new signings because it's always good to see a new team every now and again and try out different players. And I think Jakovic another good one. That's Premiership experience up here. And I think it's always good to see a player like him come out of Scotland, and having that experience with us county will help us. So I agree, it's been really, really good, and I think there's a lot of signings you could speak on.
Sorry, Robbie, we've got a potential penalty at Rugby Park. That dive that Danny Armstrong got booked for is being looked at a possible penalty. The referee's been called over to the screen at the moment.
Yeah, I believe you're on about the 70th minute now. I mean, if that gets given as a penalty, that the final 10-15 minutes will be really, really big at Rugby Park.
So I'll let you know if it's been given as a potential penalty. He's over at the screen just now. I'm just checking it. I don't think he's going to give it. No, he's not going to give it. He said no.
I mean, I think at the point, we always speak about VAR and stuff. It seems like the referees have been a lot more lenient this season. I think you've seen it with Dundee versus Hearts. Was it that game? It was one of the games over the weekend, and there was a big call. I think, if referees are going to be more lenient, then I'm all for it. But again, we speak about it. They need to just be consistent. If you're going to, not give it 1 week and then give it the next week, what's the point? I mean, if they're going to start being a bit more, what's the word, consistent with it, and not giving it at one stage and giving it the next, then I'm all for the rule changes and stuff, because I think it will only help the game. But that is a big call. I mean, Kilmarnock fans will probably be online after the game saying it will be a penalty, but Aberdeen have just wrapped things up here. I think it's now 3-1. That probably looks like it will be game over. It was Bestulin, I think, scored, one of the Aberdeen attackers. Brilliant ball whipped into the box, finishes it, Cameron into the bottom right. So yeah, 3-1 to Aberdeen, and that probably looks like it'll be cuttings for Scotland.
Yeah, that's a great result for Aberdeen, and on the manager's first match at home for him. Robbie,
Yeah, absolutely brilliant for Jimmy Thielen. Again, he's got after the perfect start, 2 wins for 2. He has shown real intent. This Aberdeen team is set up amazingly right now.
So sorry, Robbie, I need to jump in. There's a penalty at Rugby Park, and it's going for St Johnstone. St Johnstone.
Oh,
It's a bad
Tell-
tackle. It's a bad tackle by Lewis Mayo. He brings the attacker down at the edge of the box. It's a stonewall penalty. Surely the referee can't disallow this one.
Well, if this goes in, saying they give the penalty and St Johnstone find themselves 3-0 up, that is undoubtedly the result of the weekend. To go away to Rugby Park,
And St Johnstone have totally dominated the match from start to finish. Totally dominated it. Yeah, the referee is pointing to the spot and he's. Yep. The penalty is being sorted out. But I want to bring up this point that Graham talks about Celtic potentially going this season unbeaten. I think it is a genuine possibility. Obviously, Brendan Rodgers in his first season, Graham spoke about it, and Celtic went on to do it. But I think Celtic just looked more like a proper team. And St Johnstone go 3-0 up at Rugby Park. St Johnstone are 3-0 up. Absolutely brilliant scenes here.
amazing for Craig Levein and his men. I mean, that is undoubtedly the result of the weekend. As I said, to go to Rugby Park and a team that are, I know the last few results are on such a high after getting European football, to put them 3-0 up and be so comfortable is mind-boggling to me. And now, the panic stations are there for Derek McInnes. How do you approach this game on Thursday? How do you get your players back to the best? Because if they play like that, Tromso will dominate the game and they'll probably win it 3 or 4-0.
Yeah, and I'm sure if they're looking at this game, they'll see that St Johnstone have totally dominated it from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's really surprising to me. You expect Kilmarnock at home probably to be the more dominant team, unless they're playing, the Old Firm of Hearts. But I think, St Johnstone to go there and be so comfortable is amazing, and it is good to see. And, I think St Johnstone have shown real intent to try and stay up this season.
See, in terms of Celtic going unbeaten, Robin, just before the penalty went in, do you think that Celtic are playing with a style right now that you can see them doing very well this season?
I think, I mean, what Graham said, when they put it past Celtic, I think you just need to look how comfortable they're playing right now, how professional the performances are. And I think a lot of that is to do with how bad the situation is at Rangers. I'm not saying Rodgers is in the dressing room going, right, lads, we play well because Rangers are not playing well, but, he'd be saying to the players, look, Rangers are in a bit of a mess right now. They're skating by a couple of teams already dropped points. So I think, that'll play into the players' heads, and they're just playing with so much more creative freedom. And I think I've seen that. I mean, just look at today. I mean, by no means was it an easy second half, but they got the job done, and they got it done very, very early on. So Celtic are playing with a lot of freedom right now, and to be honest, I could see them going unbeaten this season.
Yeah. I just want to touch on something that I just thought about a second ago, and that is that the Norway Football Association are speaking about the fact that they are letting Tromso and Bahrain not participate in matches this weekend. Do you think that's something that we should do, Robbie?
I mean, I think, we always speak about, how early we play these European qualifiers in terms of when our league kicks off. To give the players breaks like that and, have them rested for these European games, it'll only help them. And I really badly now think that you're going to see this with Kelly. I think with the result that's happened today, and obviously looking ahead to Thursday, the players are not going to be very confident at all. And that's something that Tromso will probably take advantage of. And I'm just going to say it now, but I really badly think that Kilmarnock can lose this game. I get 3 or 4-0 because I don't see how you come back from being 3-0 down to St Johnstone and go away to a tough place in Europe and pick up the win.
Okay, Robbie, fair enough. I just want to touch on something that we spoke about in the first 30 minutes of the show, and that was the tackle, because Graham wants to know our thoughts on it. So, Graham, I said that I think it's a red card because of the rules that the SFA have. If you're endangering an opponent, it's a red card, and I felt like Gerard Taylor was endangering the player of Dundee. But Robbie, you've got a different opinion from me.
Yeah, I mean, I think I take on point, as endangering our opponent, no doubt about that. But I think the only reason he gets let off is because how low the tackle is, and I think because he did get a bit of the ball, I believe that's why the referee potentially gave it yellow. But as I said earlier, it wouldn't have surprised me if the referee pulled out a red card, and I believe Graham said the same. I think it is undoubtedly endangering an opponent, and if that's a rule, then albeit it is a red card. But I just think because how low he was when he made the tackle and the fact that he did get a bit of the ball, I think that's potentially why the red wasn't given.
Spot on, Robbie. Cheers for that. I want to now ask you about the participation of the Scottish teams this week. See, we'll start off with Rangers. Do you think, like, I know people speak about home advantage, but I think it's going to be difficult this week because you often hear about, like, Tynecastle and Ibrox and Celtic Park, how they can make an atmosphere, but I think it'll be difficult because it's in a totally different stadium.
Yeah, I mean, just looking ahead to the game, I mean, it is undoubtedly really, really different. When you're playing at Ibrox, as we said, the players are right on your back. They're right, it feels like they're on top of you. Whereas you're playing at Hampden, where it is so far away from the pitch that, it will take effect. I'm not by any means saying Kiev will find it a bit easier because it'll still be a tough game. The Hampden Park is really big, so it'll be a tough game, but it's certainly not going to be easy for Rangers. I mean, I think you heard it against Motherwell. The fans did sound further away from what you could hear, and I think that'll only help Kiev and unhelp Rangers a bit. I'm not sure how many away fans are going to be travelling for the game, but I think this has potential. Well, upset could happen because it is at Hampden, but listen, this is probably a must-win game for Rangers because they need this money bad. I mean, Clement's been out speaking in the press already about, he doesn't have any money to do much more. So I think when it comes to that, this is probably one of the biggest tests. And if they can get through, it doesn't get much easier.
Yeah, I think it does, and I think in terms of Rangers as well, like you said, they'll be hoping to get it because I think it's close to £3 or £4 million. So that's not short change in Scotland. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think if they get through the next round, I think it's upwards of £10 million now you're looking at to get actually into the Champions League. So I mean, the money would only really, really help Rangers and help the league as well. So I think it has big games, and if Clement's going to start your likes of Scott Wright, then I'll be honest, I can see Rangers in a real bit of bother because they really didn't impress me against Motherwell yesterday.
Okay, Robbie, well, I'm going to ask you for your prediction for Rangers against Kiev.
All right. I think this will be a tough game for Rangers, undoubtedly about that, as we've said many times. But I think I can see Rangers getting by this one, so I'm going to go Rangers 2, Kiev 1. I think Rangers will just sneak through.
I think I'll go 1-0 to Kiev. I just feel like the whole trepidation around the club. I watched Proper yesterday. I didn't think he put in a proper performance there, Robbie. I felt like sometimes he was a bit lackadaisical as well. So I just feel like as much as Dynamo didn't look great last week, I feel like they bet Partizan Belgrade 6-2, so they must have something about them. So I'm just going to say 1-0 to Kiev, but I'm hoping the Rangers can get through. Robbie, are you able to let me know what's happening in the Aberdeen match? Aberdeen against St Mirren?
Yeah. So within the end of the time, I didn't actually see how much the linesman gave. They've not got it on the screen, so I'm not sure. Miovski has just come onto the pitch in the 91st minute, which is interesting. Does that maybe mean this is his final Aberdeen appearance and he's coming on so the fans can say goodbye to him? I don't know, but he is on the pitch now. Someone are just breaking forward here, trying to find a way back into it. Defended well, not this at one corner, but Aberdeen have just looked so comfortable since going 3-1 up. So I expect Aberdeen to hang this one out. What about Rugby Park? How's it going there?
Yeah, it's approaching the 91st minute. We've got a free kick for the home team, but St Johnstone are dealing with it very well. Yeah, it's been a great day for St Johnstone and a great day for Aberdeen. I mean, Robbie, it's a great start for Jimmy Taylor at Aberdeen so far.
The best start to play could ask for, 2 games, 2 wins, 2 probably comfortable performances. He couldn't have asked for much more. Looking ahead now, obviously, if we get a cup next week, then he'll be back on the league action. So I think for feeling it's very, very positive. I think he can definitely be up the challenge in this Aberdeen side for top 4 again, because this team are very, very good and they've got a lot of very, very good attacking intent. But I just wonder if this is Miovski's last game for the club, as he has came on so late. I think if you were maybe looking for him to come on, to make an impact, he would have come on earlier. But this just feels like it's one of them substitutions where the feelings went, right, you're probably off. This is probably your last game. Just go on and say goodbye to the fans and stuff, which is understandable. I mean, I don't see Aberdeen bottling this now, but it has just come up on the screen that there will be 4 minutes added on, so another minute to go. Definitely, someone's come back. It's not going to happen now. Aberdeen will hold up for the 3 points.
And in terms of Miovski, how would you rate his time in Scottish football?
I think in terms of his Aberdeen career, I think it's been very good. Obviously, he put himself on the map in that sort of first season, scoring a lot of goals. So I think he's been a good player for Aberdeen, been a good player in Scottish football. And if it goes, then, good luck to him, because I think no matter where he ends up, it'll only help his career.
Robbie, I think that's spot on what you say. I mean, I'm just wondering how much Aberdeen will be wanting from him. Because if I'm an Aberdeen supporter, I'm looking for a record fee. I'm looking for maybe 6 million, 7 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should be looking for upwards of that. I don't know how much they will be wanting for them. I mean, I think that I think that it definitely is worth that in another league. But again, I think if they could get maybe 2 or 3 million for them, I think they'd be happy. And that is the full-time whistle blowing in Pittodrie. Aberdeen won at 3-1, looked very comfortable, very creative again from McGrath. I think St Mirren just need to try and bounce back now on Thursday. Obviously, I think we battled as well as we could have, but Aberdeen managed to find the 2 goals in the last couple of minutes. So fair play to Aberdeen, very good win for them. But no, it's been a good game at Pittodrie.
Yeah, that's a great start for the brand new manager to Scottish football. That's some way to start. We are in the 94th minute here, and it's still 2-0, 3-0 to St Johnstone. Sorry. Yep, and it's a pretty easy afternoon for St Johnstone. I think Graham made the point earlier that probably the red card changed the match overall for Derek McInnes. I think he'll probably focus on it. But I think overall you have to say credit to St Johnstone.
Yeah, you've got to give full credit to St Johnstone. I mean, that is a brilliant performance, probably my result of the weekend right there. To go away to a place like Rugby Park where, it isn't easy, it's really difficult, and get 3 points and be so comfortable is amazing for St Johnstone. St Johnstone were a team last season where you'd argue they were struggling to create goals. To go away and score 3 against a team that's just came off the back of a European game, it's impressive. So full credit goes to Levine, but worrying times for McInnes for Thursday.
And see, in terms of Stephen Robinson and St Mirren, are you looking to add MD in the transfer window, or are you happy with the squad so far? Or?
I think Robinson has said maybe about adding one more. I know we're linked with a couple of players on loan from Celtic potentially. So whether we get one more in, I don't know, but I'm still relatively happy with the team. Obviously, we'll get some good players like McMenamin and Kilty to come back into the team, so they will only help. And if we get through, then we'll need all the numbers we can get. I think we've been linked with Iron Jack as well, so I think if we can get one more, maybe 2, I'd be very, very happy.
Yeah, and in terms to look ahead to the Premier Sports Trophy, are you confident going into that?
I mean, going away to Dundee United, it's never going to be easy for us. It's a very, very tough game. But I think, if we go to extra time and penalties say on Thursday, the squad will get heavily rotated, and it will be tough to get through that game, but I think there's no doubt in my mind that we can. So I'd say I'm fairly confident for next week.
Robbie, it's been great to be on with you for the last 2 hours, and it's been great to chat Scottish football. I just finally want to ask you, what's been your biggest result of the weekend? I think you've already spoke about it, but
Yeah, first of all, it's been brilliant to come on, brilliant to chat for the last 2 hours. My result of the weekend will be Kilmarnock 0, St Johnstone 3. I'm so shocked that Craig Levein set up that team there and they were so comfortable and so dominating in the game. So for me, well done to Craig Levein.
yeah, and it's just full time there at Rugby Park after 96 minutes, and it's finished 3-0 to St Johnstone. That was an absolutely brilliant result for Craig Levein. And we will catch you back on the locker room next Friday, 5 o'clock until 7 o'clock with Michael and Graham. And Robbie, we will see you again soon, mate.
Yeah, 100%. I just will say Miovski's just went over to the Aberdeen fans by himself, kissed the badge and sort of waved them goodbye. So I believe this will be Miovski's last game.
There you go then. Okay, everybody, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.